Alrighty guys, we should be live. Welcome back to the channel. Hopefully you're able to see me and hear me and feel me. I want you to feel that energy. Welcome back to my channel, guys. Today I wanted to have a re-look at the Epiphone 2020 lineup. I tried to pull off a stream yesterday, but I did have some technical issues, so it's actually not at all related to my stuff. I'm gonna put the full blame on YouTube for that one. But we are back, and hopefully this time it works out pretty well. And I did get some requests about one of the biggest brands on the planet in terms of all the people who really like not only collecting guitars, people who might be getting their first guitars, people who might be looking for something different to try. I mean, there's some really good options out there, and you know me, I have a problem. I have an addiction. I have a real problem with guitars. I love them. I super get into this, and really it makes a big difference for me. You know what I mean? Just to be able to talk about them is awesome. So without further ado, I want to get into this. So let's have a look over here at the Epiphone 2020 lineup. I wanted to come in and comment on all of the different cool things that they've really come out with within the past year, and coming from first-hand experience as well. I do own one of this new lineup. I wanted to look at what Epiphone has been doing. So I'm not sure if you guys have been following Epiphone for a long time, but within the past 10 years they've just come way far than they have in decades, right? They've improved their quality so much. You've got so many cool things coming out of Epiphone today, and they really pulled a big one with their 2020 lineup, where they changed up everything. Upgraded the specs, changed up the lineup completely, got closer to their father brand, their ownership brand, which is Gibson, right? So if there's a Gibson guitar that's in their popular lineup, in their main lineups, you're gonna see an equivalent Epiphone guitar, which is called the Inspired by Still Quite Understated. And I love this. Let's get into it a little bit. Let's talk about what the 2020 lineup has really brought us. Okay, so we go into the Inspired by Gibson range. Alright, so let me zoom in right here. You're gonna see two types. You got the Inspired by Gibson, and you've got the original range. Okay, and here is one of the best parts about this. Now if I go into this screen right here, you're gonna see yourself all the cool guitars that Epiphone is doing these days. These are beautiful. Man, these are actually great guitars. Alright, and the coolest thing about Epiphone is this is their Eastern brand of Gibson, right? It is the closest ownership brand that Gibson has, and it's something that millions of people around the world buy to get that perfect licensed shape, right? And you know, it has, let's say, the Gibson seal of approval, and you're looking at 2020, a lineup where they've come closer to it than they ever have before. All right, and when we talk about that, let's have a look at some of these right here. Let's start with the standard 50s. I'll explain what that means. So in their lineup now, this is identical to the Gibson lineup. So Gibson has a Les Paul standard 50s, they got a Les Paul standard 60s, they've got a special, obviously, and they've got the way lesser than the Gibson version. Like, this is a Les Paul custom, right? This is gonna cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. Whereas here it's just $679. And why? Well, it's an Eastern make, right? The woods might be slightly different in terms of how premium you can consider them. They're the same kind of woods, don't get me wrong, but they're just going to be purchased through different channels. And when we talk about that specifically, you know, you want to look at the Les Paul standard 50s. Let's talk about specs. I mean, this is awesome. You know, you've got your super nice brand new headstock. Well, brand new for this decade. Right, this used to be the old Epiphone headstock from the Kalamazoo factory, and this headstock is a lot closer, if you'll notice, to the Gibson headstock. I like this way better. I mean, compared to the last one, which had the corners cut off. I mean, you're gonna notice they have upgraded their nut right here, and it is supposed to be, and I could be wrong on this, but it's supposed to be a Tusk nut, which is super high quality, which means it's going to hold your tuning really well. And this is awesome, especially for Les. I've grown up loving those. This is metallic gold, so this is based off of the gold top, right? And you've got your very, very pretty covered humbuckers, right? You've got them in chrome. And obviously you can buy a right or a left-handed version. And there it is. You know, this is that's the Les Paul. That's the 50s Les Paul. So what that means is the neck is going to be a fatter 50s neck, right? A lot of people like that. They find it more comfortable, definitely. And if you want a 50s spec guitar, like that classic feeling of a solid body, you know, like a solid body tone monster kind of a guitar, well, you got it. Les Paul Standard 50s, Epiphone. Let's have a look at a couple of the other finishes before I go on to the pickups. Look at this. You got your Heritage Cherry Sunburst, right? So you got your Cherry Sunburst, obviously the main Gibson finish, right? Then you got your Vintage Sunburst, another main Gibson finish, and yeah, it looks cool. I'm more into the Vintage Sunburst. I'm more of a Tobacco Burst guy. And going down here, I want to talk about the Pro Bucker pickups, because look, I go through a lot of pickups. Well, at least I've been through a lot of pickups within the past couple years. And years ago, I've tried Epiphones with old, not a great experience. However, I got myself a 2015 Epiphone Les Paul Custom a few years ago. Coming with Pro Buckers. Pro Buckers are awesome. They're better than a lot of the humbuckers on the market in a guitar for this price. They're so cool. They sound super clear. They have a bloom to them. You know, they have a bloom quality, and they distort really, really well. And what's best is they're spec'd on the PAFs. So they're spec'd on that original Gibson tone, and that's the perfect thing. However, you know, if you wanted to go for other pickups, it wouldn't cost you a lot more to get yourself a set of nice, really, really high quality American pickups. Some nice Seymour Duncans. Maybe you're looking at some of the original Gibson USA pickups, which are some of my favorite pickups in the world. And that's one of the coolest things. So when you get this guitar, you're getting it with Pro Buckers, and it sounds pretty great. You can always go and make it sound even greater if you like. But the difference is not massive. It's not worth the $2,000 price tag versus a $600 price tag difference. That's for sure. It's really not that big. So going back now, I want to talk about the standard 60s. Now this is more my kind of guitar. I'm a 60s neck guy. The 60s necks are super comfortable, super fast. They feel awesome, right? The coolest thing about this is, once again, it's modeled after the Les Paul Standard 60s, which Gibson is doing nowadays. And it's an overwhelmingly positive direction. Because like I said, if you are somebody who's been thinking about getting into a Gibson Les Paul, or somebody who was just curious about it, or wanted to add another Les Paul to their collection, you're seeing an equivalent Les Paul right there. And this is an ebony, but you know what? Let's have a look at Bourbon Burst. Love this. So this is the more tobacco era sort of a finish, and I really like it. Once again, coming with Pro Buckers, but the main highlight of this, definitely gotta be your 60s neck. And that's something that totally matters. Right? A neck change makes a biggest difference for people, right? So yeah, that's the standard 50s, the standard 60s. Let's have a look at the let's go down here and let's have a look at your Les Paul Custom. They're both incredibly classy looking colors. In fact, the Custom just screams, for me, heavy alternative rock, or just rock music in general. It's such an incredible looking guitar. It's just, look at it. Let me zoom in a little bit. I mean, I've grown up watching artists play Les Paul Customs, but this is with the bound headstock, and by the way, the pure ebony fingerboard. Look at this. So this is a proper ebony fingerboard. This was, I mean, ebony is not it's not a spec that you find on lower end guitars, right? And I think, in my experience, because I owned one of these, not the 2020 range, I had the older ones, I had the 2015, the quality is just awesome. The quality is so cool. The necks feel super nice. They're very fast necks. The frets are stainless steel, medium jumbo, which are a bit bigger, so you really enjoy that bend, you know? You really control that tone. I love it. It's awesome. And let's have a quick look at the ebony one right here. There you go. So you're looking at the Les Paul Custom in ebony, and that's what they call the Black Beauty if you look at the Gibson range. And boy, is it pretty. Look at that. Gold hardware, binding everywhere, right? Shiny black. That's going to be super glossy as well. And obviously the bound headstock. The bound headstock is awesome. I love it. So these are some, but what I want to do is I'd like to explore it a little bit more, and let's go on to the designer collection. One of my favorite collections ever, right? So I like heavy rock, I like alternative rock, and some of these guitars are way more alternative rock for me than others, right? Out of these three, I'm in love with two of them, okay? I've never seen an artist, I've never seen an artist that I like play a flying Wii. I think the closest probably got to be Joe Bonamassa playing a flying Wii, and he does it well, but it's just not a shape that totally captures me. I feel like it's a bit too radical, a bit too out there, right? Maybe derives too far from the formula. But if you look on the right side here, these are two incredible guitars. The Les Paul, sorry, not the Les Paul. Les Paul's on my mind all the time, right? Oh no, the Firebird, right? The Epiphone Firebird. Epiphone does not have a long history of creating Firebirds. It's quite rare for them to do them. They used to be just limited runs. And I think they came out with a Slash version like a year ago. And I was considering getting one just because they finally made a Firebird, right? But it had humbuckers on it, and a Firebird is about the mini humbuckers, okay? They're beautiful guitars. Look at that. A Firebird is like an Explorer, but with the edges curved out. They sound wild. That's the best way to put it. And for me, I think my favorite Firebird player is Tim Skold. He's in a bunch of different bands. He was in Shotgun Messiah. He was part of Marilyn Manson for a long time. The way that he handled Firebird, wow, it's incredible. And this, once again, super affordable, $600, right? You've got a bound neck, got inlays, mini humbuckers, right? And you got yourself a Firebird. You know, hey, if you've never tried an offset guitar before, they have problems sometimes, you know. They have a small problem with neck dive. They don't always have it. They have it sometimes. But, yeah, I mean, you could always get into offset guitars because they balance very differently. And so, looking at the Firebird, let's move on to the Explorer. So this is my second favorite guitar shape of all time, followed closely by the Custom 24. So it goes Les Paul, Explorer, Custom 24. And you'll be happy to know I've seen a lot of material and a lot of opinions on the Epiphone Explorer for 2020. People love it. It sounds incredible. It balances well. The weight, the neck, everything feels almost exactly like the Gibson counterpart. And that's awesome. I think we should be, I mean, this is something at $600 that makes a big, big difference. All right. So we looked at some of the designer guitars here. Going back here, let's have a look at what else have they come out with. They came out with a modern Les Paul. So this, from the new collection, is actually my favorite Les Paul. Because, you know, I've owned customs both in Gibson and in the Epiphone range. I've owned Les Paul Standards. I have a Les Paul Standard today. I have a Gibson Les Paul Standard. I have a Gibson Les Paul Studio. I have all these different guitars, right? But the Les Paul Modern, now this caught my attention more than anything else. We'll talk a little bit about these others as well, but I want to show you the Modern first, because this is by far my favorite from the new Epiphone 2020 lineup. I mean, let me go to my favorite finish, the Magma Orange. This is truly, I think, the best guitar that Epiphone has created in 2020, or probably one of the best ones that they've ever created, ever, right? So it has a flame top, right? Knowing the price, probably a veneer, but for the way that it looks, with this beautiful ebony fingerboard and the super nice black hardware with the chrome pickups, really, really nice tusk nut, right? Better hardware as well. They have improved wiring. They've improved a lot of different things. They've improved the overall the hardware has been improved, right? So when you look at that, plus with the new headstock and the Grovers, these really, really nice tuners, it's a no-brainer. It's awesome, right? Plus on top of it, you got yourself the asymmetrical neck profile. It's kind of like in a teardrops shape. It's not really like fully symmetrical. So the bottom half, like the lower half, close to the place where you solo, where you play your runs, is slimmer. Not even a lot slimmer, just slightly slimmer. And when you have that, you can just solo a lot faster. And it's a fast neck. It's such a fast neck that it took me a few days to get used to it. But it's super comfortable, especially if you're playing chords, if you're playing, let's say, bar chords, back up and down, you know, playing a lot of power chords, you're playing yourself, you know, like a nice legato run up and down the neck. It's perfect. And I think that's pretty awesome. And that's the kind of thing which really, really matters to people. So the Les Paul Modern for $700 with this flame top, incredibly nice finish. The Magma Orange, it's got to be my favorite one out of the new collection. All right, let's check out a few more. Then we can summarize all of this, because I'm enjoying this. Now, they got the Les Paul Classic. Just like the Gibson version, you've got a Les Paul Classic. It should be a semi lighter than the other Les Pauls, which for a lot of people makes a huge difference. Okay, play, right? And looking at that, I mean, they've got a Les Paul Classic Worn. It's the same Les Paul Classic. The only difference is the finish. You don't get burst finishes, and you get satin tops, which are not shiny, but some people like that. Some people want that feeling. Oh, this beautiful Les Paul Studio. This is one of my favorite kinds. I owned one very similar to this. I owned a Gibson Les Paul 2008. The price that you pay is awesome. And the last one you want to look at is the Muse. Well, the Muse is a brand new lineup that they just started. This is a more modern type of guitar. The guitar bodies are thinner, they're lighter, and they come in these nice glittery sparkle finishes, right? And big difference from what Epiphone used to be. You look back 10 years, and 10 years ago, Epiphone had just started to get back into quality, all right? I think 2001 to 2010 were not great years for Epiphone. I know there were obviously models that were good, like really, really good, but then I think that after that, they really ramped their game up. And their quality in 2020, I believe, in terms of specs and pricing, what you get for the value, is dangerously close to what a PRS SE or what an LTD offers. And it's all to do with range and price, but I mean, look at this. You can't deny it, right? It's amazing. And going down here, look, you've got a quick little look at the Epiphone Muse guitars. You've got SGs and Les Pauls. And yeah, you're going to be able to get them in these beautiful sparkle finishes. I really like those. I mean, if I had the space and the money and the time, I'd love to have a few more of these as well. I really, really dig them. And the Lizzy Hale Explorer. I believe an Epiphone Explorer, especially one that's signature model, because Epiphone signature models are just very high quality. I think that this comes the closest, and it feels incredible. It has already become one of my favorite guitars. I've only had it for. The red's nice. It's not the shade of red that I like. I think it's just because it's a bit brighter, but yeah, look at this green. That's beautiful. And these are supposed to be a lot cheaper as well when you compare it with the standard lineup. So yeah, guys, that's a look at the Epiphone lineup for 2020. Hopefully you guys liked it. This is actually really, really cool. This is awesome. I mean, if you think about it, the kind of quality you get for the price, you know, I'm always a big fan in having multiple guitars because they're always going to inspire you to play constantly. You know, if you play on the same guitar every single day of your life, you're not always gonna have this curiosity. You're not always gonna have this like electricity for you to be able to, well, I really want to get back to this one, you know? Or yeah, it's been a while since I played that one. And I've got a collection. And yeah, I mean, a collection costs money, yes. Quality from the guys at Epiphone, and I love it. If you guys do like the video, I want to drop a shameless plug here, let you guys know to subscribe to my channel. I appreciate it. It does motivate me to make more of these videos. I've had this YouTube channel for a long time, but only recently started using it, just because I was never really motivated to do it. And yeah, I think if you want to really, really think about cool guitars and want to recommend to me any other brands you want me to check out and give you my opinion on, I've tried hundreds of different guitars over the past 10 years. And yeah, there's a lot to say there. There's a lot of amazing, incredible guitars, and when you look at the pricing on these, I mean, just a no-brainer, guys. So thanks for stopping by the stream, and if you're checking this out later, yeah, thank you so much for joining and watching. I always appreciate you.